Welcome to another Home Sold. My name is Steven.Verdelli and I'm a realtor with Coldwell-Banker. Today, our guest is Matt Scafidi from Scafidi, Juliano Hurd, a real estate firm here in Wellesley. But before we get started, we're going to read a couple of questions that have come in on our Facebook page from last week's episode. Our first question comes from Colleen. My husband and I are thinking of purchasing a vacation home in Rhode Island. Can you help me find a reputable realtor in that state? Of course we can. Coldwell-Banker is nationwide, and we're part of the Caritas Relocation Network, the largest network in the world. So we can absolutely help you find a reputable realtor anywhere in the country, especially in Rhode Island. Second question is, I'm thinking of listing my home that is located on a very busy street in Wellesley. Is the fall an okay time to list? This comes from Jim in Wellesley Hills. Jim, there's never a bad time to list your house. I have listed and sold houses between Christmas and New Year's. So there's never a bad time to do that. And in terms of a busy street, that's all relative. Some people may find your home to be very charming and the street is not a concern at all. So it's always a good time to list your house. And I think that'd be great, and we'd be happy to help you with that. Third question that came in says, Ms. Osceola briefly touched base on what new buyers need to look for when purchasing a home. Is there a published guide for this? And this comes from Jane in Wellesley. There is actually a published guide, and it's called the Coldwell-Banker Home Guide. This is an excellent resource. It has all the verbiage that we had discussed in here, as well as a glossary of terms, and really takes you through step by step. So Jane, if you want to just send me an email or give me a call in the office, 781-237-9090. I'd be happy to send you a copy, and anyone else who's interested as well. This is a great piece of literature that really does not have a shelf life. So today I really want to welcome and thank our guest, Matthew, for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Matt. So, Matt, I'd just like to know a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Sudbury, Massachusetts, not too far from here. Went to Providence College after high school, and after that, New England School of Law. I've spent several years down in New York and several years in Boston before settling in Westwood with my family. I have a wife that I know from college, that I met at college, and 3 daughters. So I have 3 daughters under the age of 6, and we have set up some serious roots in Westwood. It's a nice town. My office is here in Wellesley, though. I do the bulk of my work here in town.
And your office is in Wellesley, located above Green's Hardware?
Yeah, right on Washington Street, down in Wellesley Hills, and we've been there for quite some time now. The bulk of our business is out of Wellesley here.
Great, that's a great location.
Yeah,
there, and easy to find, right by the clock tower.
Yeah, yeah.
In the Magas, one of my favorite restaurants.
I'm in the Magas twice a day.
So Matt, tell me a little bit about why you chose to go into law and why you chose to go into real estate law.
Sure, yeah. Like many people, when I graduated college, I was trying to find out what I was going to be doing with the next 50 years of my life. I always wanted to get into real estate. Real estate drew my interest more than anything else, and I decided that the law was something that also interested me, and I could marry the 2 professions by going to law school. I've been practicing law since the day I've been practicing real estate law since the day I graduated law school, and I couldn't be happier. It's a very natural fit for me. It's something that interests me more and more every day, and I'm very happy with that decision to go to law school for real estate. Yeah.
And so your love of real estate is kind of what drew you into that particular facet of it.
Yeah, I had this group of friends in high school. There were probably 3 or 4 of us that right after we read the sports page every day, we read the real estate section. We just liked to talk about local real estate. We always sort of knew what was going on in and around Boston and all these towns, and it was always something that I knew I would get into in some way or another as I grew up. And so yeah, it was sort of a natural path for me to end up in the real estate world. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So Matt, you're a real estate attorney, and I'm sure you hear this too. I hear this quite a bit. After somebody makes an offer on a home, and my next step is to advise them to get their real estate attorney involved, I get, well, my nephew is a realtor. My nephew is an attorney. He can look over my P&S, or my divorce lawyer is going to handle this, or I have a friend who does bond law, and my immediate reaction is, well, you wouldn't go to a real estate lawyer for your divorce. Why are you going
That's right.
to a divorce lawyer for your real estate
That's
transaction?
Right.
Tell me a little bit about what makes the difference there.
Sure. Yeah, you really want to hire a lawyer that you trust, someone that you know or comes highly recommended, somebody that you can really, because you're going to release a lot of information to that person, and so it has to be a trusted advisor for you. And a lot of times for people, that ends up being a friend, a family member, a cousin that may or may not be a real estate lawyer, but every lawyer out there sort of thinks they know a little bit about real estate law. They've sold a few homes, they've bought a few homes, and so sometimes you do get some lawyers that dabble in real estate law that shouldn't be. I'm a firm believer of specialization, of focusing within an area of law or two. Patent lawyers don't mess around with real estate law. Real estate law lawyers don't mess around with divorce law. It's very important to focus as a lawyer in one or two or three practice areas, and that goes the same for real estate law. Even though you know a little bit about real estate and maybe you know a bit about real estate law, you should really only retain an attorney that is a specialist in that area.
So I think one of the biggest issues with real estate law or real estate transactions is timing.
Yep.
And working with an attorney, as you and I have worked together on several deals, timing is of the essence on this.
Yep.
Why is this so important?
Yeah, more than many other areas of the law, time is of the essence when it comes to real estate transactions. When you sign the offer, you have a few days to get an inspection done. You have a few more days to get a P&S signed. You have a few weeks to get a mortgage lined up, and then you get the closing right around the corner. And so you have all these deadlines, all these times that you have to hit, and it's one of the biggest reasons why a real estate lawyer is so important, because we have the resources, we have the systems, we have the processes in place to hit all those marks, to not require the need for any extensions, so that you're sitting at the closing table when you're supposed to be, and everybody's on time and ready for the closing.
So it's a smooth transaction. That's really what we all want.
That's the goal. These are, whether you're an experienced real estate buyer or seller, or it's your first time, it's going to be an extremely stressful process. Real estate transactions, I always say, can very easily bring out the worst in people. And so, because they're so stressful, there's so much money involved, it's such an important asset in people's lives, it's very important to have somebody in your corner that gets all that and helps relieve a lot of that stress for you and not add to it. So that's why I think you really got to hire a real estate lawyer. And I'm not saying that because I'm a real estate lawyer. I would tell you the same thing if you called me for your divorce. I would tell you, call somebody else.
Call a divorce attorney.
Yeah.
Talking about due diligence, P&Ss, we've both seen a lot of P&Ss that are somewhat lopsided.
Yep.
When I mean lopsided, not as fair and as straightforward as they should be.
Yep.
Can you give me a couple of examples of that?
Yeah, well, the standard purchase and sale agreement comes out of the seller's attorney's office. If there's no seller's attorney, it'll come out of the listing agent's office. And obviously that form is probably going to be a little bit seller slanted. Mm-hmm. So our job as buyer's attorneys is to edit that document, make it a little bit more neutral, add a rider or addendum on the back of that, which makes it a much more neutral, if not a buyer-friendly document, and vice versa. As a seller's attorney, you're going to prepare the first draft of the P&S, and the buyer's attorney is going to push back and try to negotiate certain terms, and you have to fight hard for your seller. So the P&S we call it the standard form purchase and sale agreement, but there are intricate little details throughout the whole thing, from paragraph 1 through paragraph 50. There are intricate little things that could change the whole transaction. And yet one more reason why a real estate attorney knows to look for those things, whereas perhaps a business lawyer is used to other contracts, other documents in front of them, and may not know how that provision gets negotiated, or what that little, changing that word from may to shall, what it does to a whole transaction. So there are certain little details within a P&S. The primary paragraph in a P&S that you care about, and I keep saying P&S, it's the purchase and sale agreement is what the P and S is called, is the mortgage contingency. For most buyers that have financing involved with their purchase, which is most buyers, the important thing is that they're fully protected in case their financing falls through. In case they're unable to get a mortgage, they're able to back away from the transaction and receive a full refund of their deposit funds. And so that provision is a very important provision for both sellers, so they don't get locked in too long, and for buyers, so they're fully protected.
Absolutely. And just to touch base again on your words, you're talking about words such as, for instance, sconces being removed and walls being completely repaired
Yeah.
rather than going into a home after you've closed and find a gaping hole in your wall where once stood sconces.
Yeah. So the purchase and sale agreement might be 12 pages, but there's one paragraph that I make sure my clients always read very closely, and it's paragraph 3, where it talks about the inclusions, the exclusions of, you're really important in that process because that gets negotiated at the offer stage. That gets discussed very early on. And so that provision where you talk about what is included, is the washer and dryer staying? Is the flat screen TV being removed from the wall? If so, what's going to happen to those holes back there? So that's a very important provision in the P&S also that real estate agents are extremely important for.
So this is a team of people working together.
Yeah, I mean, as I thought about meeting with you and talking with you today, I think that's going to be a recurring theme for me is whether you're a buyer or a seller, you have to have 1 or 2 or 3 trusted advisors in your corner, and that's all about building a team. So a good real estate agent should be paired up with a good real estate attorney, who should be paired up with a good mortgage professional if you're a buyer, and so that's what I feel very strongly about that.
Great. Matt, we're seeing more and more banks requiring buyers to use their attorneys for the bank. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if you're buying a home and you're obtaining mortgage financing, the lender usually decides whether or not a lawyer can close the loan or not for them. Because in Massachusetts, there can be 2 lawyers on the buyer's side of the table. There's the buyer's attorney and the bank's attorney. Those lawyers are almost always the same person. It saves the buyers the trouble of retaining 2 attorneys, of paying for 2 attorneys. Some banks, some lenders have narrowed their list down. So they might have 20 approved attorneys on their protected list here in Massachusetts. And if your lawyer's not on that list, then the guy that you have started working with and have done all your purchase and sale agreement work with, that you trust, that you really want to work with, no longer can close the loan. With a firm of my firm's size, it's not necessarily a big problem. We're on dozens and dozens of banks' lists. So typically if a buyer brings a lender to the table that we may not do a lot of work with, chances are we might be on their list anyway. But it's a problem. It's a problem because you might get stuck with a lawyer closing your transaction that you don't know, that you don't trust, that you haven't had any involvement with really until the closing table.
Sure, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you can actually do both sides. You can actually work with somebody right through the very end.
That's correct, yeah,
Right.
Yeah, sure. So you get involved at the offer stage when you guys get the offer executed, and you follow them all the way through the closing.
Wonderful. Matt, not all real estate attorneys' offices are created the same.
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk a little bit about electronic filing.
Sure. So this is somewhat of a new concept. The last 4 or 5 or 6 years it came on the scene here in Massachusetts. It is a county-by-county decision. The Registry of Deeds in Norfolk County, for example, has decided to allow electronic recordings. So back in the day, and when I mean back in the day, I mean 6 years ago, there'd be 8 or 10 of us sitting around the closing table in the basement of the registry on every purchase transaction. That is no longer the case. If you have a real estate office with some standards and practices in place, chances are you might invest in this software program where you can record electronically. We're able to record almost the entire state from our offices. We have 3 offices, and we're able to record documents electronically without having to go to the basement of the registry. So,
wow, that really expedites the process.
Yeah.
And can you do closings in other states?
Yeah, our office closes loans in New Hampshire and Rhode Island and all over Massachusetts.
Wonderful.
Yep.
So if somebody was purchasing a vacation home in Rhode
Yeah.
Island or a ski home up north, you can
Yeah,
help them
we
out
do.
with
We
that.
do quite a bit of work down Cape Cod. We do a lot of ski houses in New Hampshire and lots in Rhode Island too. Yeah.
Wonderful. We are with Matt Scafidi from Scafidi, Juliano Hurd, a real estate law firm located right here in Wellesley. Matt, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We are going to be going to 1 Stonefield Lane now, taking a look with Louise Tarsy in 370 Worcester Street here in Wellesley. We're here today with Louise Tarsy from Coldwell-Banker. We're here to talk about 1 Stonefield Lane in Wellesley. Hi, Louise. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, Louise. How long have you been an agent in town?
I've been an agent in town for 30 years, lived in town for 39 years.
Well, so you know the town very well.
I do.
I like to think I know the town well, but I don't know where Stonefield Lane is. Can you tell me that?
Sure. It's a fairly new street. It was developed about 9 or 10 years ago. It's right near Dana Hall and 10 Acre School, and it's a cul-de-sac.
Great location. Now tell me a little bit about this house. 12 rooms, 5 bedrooms, 5 full baths, 3 half baths, 7,000 square feet.
And that's not including the lower level.
Okay.
which is quite large, including a theater, billiards room, guest suite, and lots of storage.
Okay. So the stairway, architectural masterpiece.
It really is. The owner of the house designed that staircase. The builder had created this house, and when these buyers came along, they tweaked it to their own specifications, and the staircase is its centerpiece.
Wonderful. Now this kitchen, it's very nice.
The kitchen is done in marble, so it's beautiful painted white wood and marble with lovely detail.
And 16 by 31.
Quite large, with a beautiful stove and millwork.
Double sub-zero refrigerators.
And refrigerator and freezer.
Freezer, wonderful. That's great. And hardwood floors.
Hardwood floors and very tall ceilings.
And this is the breakfast area?
The breakfast area is right in the kitchen. And the family can look out of all of those windows either to the backyard, which is quite manicured, or the potential for the future swimming pool.
Now, this is the office, mahogany office.
Yeah, the library is done in magnificent mahogany and has a gas fireplace.
And those are built-ins, correct?
They're all built-ins.
Great. This is the living room?
The family room.
Family room.
The family room is right off of the kitchen with built-ins and a wood-burning fireplace and a flat-screen TV right over the fireplace. The millwork in this house is pretty special. You're noticing in some of these pictures keystone arches. They're a centerpiece of the house. Most of the rooms have that in the doorways.
And I'm seeing hardwood floors throughout the whole house.
The hardwood floors or sandstone,
Yep.
and we have the beautiful mahogany butler's pantry with granite and marble counters leading into the dining room.
Now this entryway, back to this is quite magnificent.
The entryway gives it its majestic appeal.
Now let's go outside and take a look at this beautiful patio that they've got.
The patio is what distinguishes this house from others. The pavers that are surrounding the terrace are extensive. You can see it from the balcony over the master bedroom, and you will notice that there's a fireplace out there as well as a beautiful kitchen.
Full outdoor kitchen. So this is the perfect house to have large parties.
Not to mention the putting green. The owner of this house put in a putting green and a chipping block, which he had envisioned, which was envisioned to be adjacent to a swimming pool.
Fantastic.
Very hard to get an acre of land in Wellesley where you can put a swimming pool.
So this has a leveled acre in the backyard.
That's right.
Wonderful. And pre-designed for swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
3-car garage.
3-car garage with an extensive paved driveway.
And this house is heated by gas,
It's an
correct?
all-gas house, and the wonderful feature on the lower level are life-size, big-sized windows. And we have the theater, state-of-the-art home theater with 6 or 7 seats in it, recliners, as well as a billiards room and a guest suite.
A billiards room and a guest suite and home theater. Is that in the basement?
It's all on the lower level,
On
yes.
the lower level.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Now,
Most of the bedrooms are en suite, and the master en suite has 2 full walk-in closets.
walk-in closets.
It also has a balcony overlooking that beautiful backyard.
Incredible. Beautiful home. Now, if somebody was interested in this home, how would they get in touch with you?
They can get online and find it on Coldwell-Banker website or any other real estate website. We have put it on every website around, any real estate website.
Great. So we're here with Louise Tarsy. We're talking about 1 Stonefield Lane in Wellesley. Again, this is a 5-bedroom, 5 full bath, 3 half bath home, just over 7,000 square feet. Louise, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
My pleasure. Today we're going to be taking a look at 370 Worcester Street, which is on the corner of Worcester Street in Oakland. Generous foyer welcomes you to this 1920s colonial with high ceilings, large windows, restored period detailing, fantastic living space. driveway with a 2-car detached garage, surrounded by mature fence and plantings. The owner of this house is a master gardener, as you can see in the exterior pictures. The front foyer is oak, a lot of period detailing. These homes from the 1920s have really stood the test of time, and you can tell when you enter the home the detail that's involved in it. The kitchen was renovated about 10 years ago with gas cooking and a vent that goes directly to the outside, which is very nice. 4 large windows and a door in the kitchen make it tons of natural light. There's a wood-burning fireplace in the front to back living room, which leads off to one of the most fantastic rooms in the house, which is the sun porch. The sun porch has heat, windows on 3 sides, and a door that leads out to the yard. This sunroom would be perfect to have dinner out there, make that a library, a computer center, and still be able to take in everything from the outside. There's a full-size entertaining dining room with buffet and lots of large windows. This home features 6 bedrooms, 4 on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd floor. The rooms are quite large, averaging 12 feet by 15 feet, and all have at least 2 to 3 windows with 6 pane windows on the upper side, which is very nice, very unique. Another unique feature in this property is the bathroom on the 3rd floor with a beautiful large cast iron clawfoot tub, which is a great little feature to have. The basement of this house not only has high ceilings, but also has a fully equipped woodworking shop that the current owner's looking to dismantle, but if somebody is looking to come in and pick up the craft of woodworking, he'd be happy to work with them on that. Bluestone patio in the backyard as well, as pavers, walkways, fully mature trees. It's a lovely home. Lovely home at 370 Worcester Street on the corner of Oakland. For more information, you can contact Steven.Verdelli at Coldwell-Banker or check out our website, www.coldwellbanker.com. So be sure to check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching today.